Hi guys, it's Hump Day lesson day. Love you guys. Guitar lesson time. I almost wish it was just jamming time because the redditor is sounding today. Can I tell? It actually sounds good on the high strings. It wasn't for a while, but now that it's getting used more and charging up, it sounds good on the high strings too. That's a great tone. So I love the Radarator, guys. Thanks, Radarator, for making it and giving me one of the copies. Okay, so it's lesson day today. I'm going to talk about a few things, theory things applied to guitar. First, I want to talk about the thing that has been going around, musical palindromes and negative harmony, and how that applies to scales, 7-note scales in particular, and all the permutations of those. So let's do that. I had already thought of these concepts in the late 80s, but I just didn't have those names for them. I didn't call it musical palindromes. I didn't call it negative harmony, but I knew that, for instance, I knew that Dorian inverted itself. You know, it's the same intervals up as down. I knew that Mixolydian mirrored Aeolian modes. I knew that Ionian mirrored Phrygian, and I knew that Lydian mirrored Locrian, and I just didn't call it negative harmony. And I didn't call Dorian a musical palindrome, but I knew the concept. So let's talk about the major scale. And one of the modes of the major scale is Dorian, and Dorian is its own inversion or its own negative harmony. Therefore, it is a musical palindrome. So let me demonstrate that. On the high E string, a new Dorian would be full step, half step, full step, full step, full step, half step, full step. And down it's the same thing. Full step, half step, full step, full step, full step, half step, full step. So that makes it Dorian a musical palindrome. And since the major scale has a mode that is a musical palindrome, that qualifies that as its own thing to me. It has a musical palindrome as one of the modes. Now the next of the four types of scale, which are major, melodic minor, harmonic major, and harmonic minor, I'm going to talk about is the melodic minor scale. And the melodic minor scale also has a mode that is a musical palindrome, and that is Aeolian dominant, the fifth mode of harmonic, the fifth mode of melodic minor. So melodic minor is whole, half, whole, half, whole, half. But the fifth mode of that is Aeolian dominant, which is whole, half, whole. And that down is also whole, half, whole. So Aeolian dominant is a musical palindrome. Fifth mode of, and you can see it's the fifth mode of a melodic minor, because if you take that E as the fifth, then the sixth would be F sharp, the seventh would be G sharp, and the root would be A. And if you play Aeolian dominant starting on A, instead of E, if you play E Aeolian dominant starting on A, you get an A melodic minor scale. Whole, half, whole, half. So it all checks out. Aeolian dominant is a musical palindrome, and it is the fifth mode of melodic minor scale. And you could also think of Aeolian dominant in two ways. You can think of it as an Aeolian mode with a major third, so start with Aeolian and raise the third and get Aeolian dominant. The other way to think of Aeolian dominant is a Mixolydian with a flatted sixth. So a Mixolydian mode is, and a Mixolydian with a flat sixth, again, is Aeolian dominant. So it can be thought of as a Mixolydian with a flat sixth or an Aeolian with a major third. Either way, it's a fifth mode of melodic minor scale, and it's a musical palindrome. Oh, here we go. Joseph Johnny calls it the Hindu scale sometimes. Now the other two possibilities of four-note scales that I haven't talked about yet are harmonic minor and harmonic major. It turns out they are not harmonic. They don't. The harmonic minor doesn't have a musical palindrome within it, and the harmonic major scale doesn't have a musical palindrome within it. But a mode of the harmonic minor is the negative harmony of a mode of harmonic major. They are related. If you put the two together as a group, they have one mode of one that is a negative harmony of the other. So together, superimposed, they can have if you call it an 8-note scale or whatever, they would have a musical palindrome together. But then separately they don't. So let's discuss that. Harmonic minor. Whole, half, whole, whole. Sorry, let's do it again. Whole, half, whole, half, augmented half. Okay, that's harmonic minor. If you play that literally backwards, in other words, just take the negative harmony of that, you get this. Half, augmented, half, whole, half, whole. That down it would be whole, half, whole, half, augmented half. That's interesting. That scale is the fifth mode of harmonic major. Therefore, the fifth mode of harmonic major is the negative harmony of the harmonic minor. And you could think of the fifth mode of harmonic major as a mixed leading flat second, because harmonic major has a flat 6, which in C would be A, and the mixolydian is the fifth mode, so the sixth note of it would be the second of it. So in C ioning, you would have G mixolydian, and since the sixth note of in C is A, and A is the second note of mixolydian, you could call it a mixolydian with a flat 2. In G mixolydian, A is the second, and A is the sixth of the major scale, which is flatted for the harmonic major. So the fifth mode of harmonic major is a mixolydian with the flat second. So the fifth mode. So the negative harmony of the E harmonic minor scale is an E mixolydian flat second, which is the fifth, which is this scale. Because that would be this is the flat second, major third, fourth, fifth, sixth, minor seventh, and root. And you can tell that that's the fifth mode of harmonic major, because if you take the E as the fifth, then the sixth is the flat second, which is F. Third is the C sharp, and the fourth is A. And an E mixed leading flat second right here becomes the A harmonic major scale. Have it. Whole, half, half. So there's a relationship between harmonic major and harmonic minor, where the fifth mode of harmonic major is the negative harmony of the harmonic minor. The reverse is also true. The fifth mode of harmonic minor is also the negative harmony of the harmonic major, but I didn't do it from that point of view, but you could do that. You could say that harmonic major has the negative harmony, which is this, which would be what would be the negative harmony of that? Let's do it again. Negative harmony of that would be well, guess what? That's just the Phrygian dominant. So Phrygian dominant is the negative harmony of the harmonic major, and the Phrygian dominant is the fifth mode of harmonic minor. We all know that, at least a lot of us do. And the Phrygian dominant is the fifth, and E is the E Phrygian dominant is the fifth, F is the sixth, G sharp the seventh, and the root would be A. And you can see that E Phrygian dominant is the fifth mode of the A, because you therefore get an A. When you play E Phrygian dominant, you get an A harmonic minor scale, because here we have it. Whole, half, whole, half, augmented half. So that's a cool thing. At least that's cool to me. That the negative harmony of the harmonic major is the mode of the harmonic minor, and that the major scale has a musical palindrome, which means it's its own negative harmony, and the melodic minor scale has a mode which is also a musical palindrome, which means it's its own negative harmony. I like all that. That's all. What I said makes sense. If you just follow it and you can go over it again, it all works out. I think just some information there. Now, also, I want to talk about a concept that goes around, not as much as negative harmony, because the great Rick B hasn't mentioned it much, but it's very important. It's the idea of pitch axis. And I like pitch axis. It's where you take one note and then make all the scales have that note as a root, but change the note. So if you're at E, you could have my new song, Etheric Tremors, has this. It's in E. The rhythm part that Etheric Tremors is G sharp diminished over E, which makes an E mixolydian. And it goes to G major, which makes an E, I'm going to call it Aeolian. Back to the G sharp diminished, which makes it an E mixolydian. Then it goes to a G sharp minor, which makes an E Lydian. Back to the G sharp diminished, which makes an E mixolydian. the pitch axis on E. You go from E Mixolydian to E Aeolian to E Mixolydian again. And E Lydian. And back to E Lydian. I really like that sound, you know, the pitch axis idea. You know, I really like that. Soloing with, you know, the pitch axis idea, which I really did. Attacking thing too, when you don't get Satriani did it in Sesh Boogie, but I do it in E. I do a little thing where I take the modes of etheric tremors I just told you, and I go something like I go. That's all E Mixolydian, E Aeolian, E Mixolydian, E Lydian. Anyway, that's some cool ideas, I think, that connect theory to practice of guitar. While I'm playing, I want to bring up another thing that's like not that, but it's tuning theory. People think I have toneless and I can't tune or whatever. And then people don't like that I say whatever. If you tune every string literally to a tuner, you won't get the best possible tuning. You get something squished together and accurate exactly on the open notes, but when you go to play, it won't sound as good. What you do, and I got this from Eric Johnson from The Fine Art of Guitar instruction video. You tune the low string slightly flat. So that's going to be slightly lower than an E there. That's going to be slightly lower. And the middle strings tune right, if correctly according to the machine. And then the high strings tune slightly sharp. They're slightly sharp. So you widen the spread of the guitar strings tuning out. And this makes what you play in the middle sound better. You have more room. It sounds more in tune than if you just tune each string right to the machine. It's good to start that way. Tune it to the machine, but then turn your low strings a little flatter than they should be, and tune your high strings a little sharper than they should be, and you'll sound better. I think I'm in tune to where I like it right now. But if you actually tested it, you'd see that note is slightly sharp of that note. In fact, by some. Those two notes won't match. The high E and the low E won't be exactly the same pitch, but it sounds better that way on the guitar. The Radiator has very different types of sounds you can get out of it. You just change a few knobs and you get a totally different sound. Now, last thing I want to talk about, I'm not making this material up, but I'm kind of going with the flow about what I'm talking about. I want to analyze Jeff Berlin's intro to bass thing he does for Beelzebub. I'm not even sure I'm qualified to analyze it really, but I just like the way it sounds. He does, what would that be? That would be, that would be A Phrygian right there. And then this, still could be A Phrygian. Then he goes, that's very chromatic sounding to me. it's G sharp and F sharp and G all in the same lick. It's 3 chromatic notes, only one of which is in E Phrygian now. This is the major 7th, which isn't in E Phrygian, and this is the major 6th, which is not in E Phrygian, and then this is G, which could be the minor 7th of E Phrygian, but he's all over the place, isn't he? And then it's that's just minor. That can be E Phrygian. Then this. That could also be E Phrygian, believe it or not. Then he goes. That's an old blues lick in G of all things. If it's a G minor 3rd, G, which would be B flat, to B, the major 3rd of G, then to G. So now suddenly he sounds like he's playing a G blues lick. And G's the minor 7th in A, so you can consider that if you're still in A, I don't know what you would have. That would be either a Mixolydian or a Dorian, which would be this, either an Aeolian or a Phrygian, which is logical so far, I guess. If it's the minor 3rd of the G, which would be B flat, it would be a Phrygian. If you go to the B, the major 3rd of the G would be a major 2nd, which would have to be an Aeolian, but he's still wandering around. There's some weirdness there, but then he goes into the A. Well, that's if you go like this, you get 6 notes of an A half step, whole step diminished scale. Okay, there's that. So he's playing an A. No, not an A. Sorry, I goofed there. It's an E half step, whole step diminished scale. Sorry, but E is in an A chord. E is the 5th note of A. This is an E half step, whole step diminished scale. Let's handle that. Okay. Wow. If he's still in A, which I'm just calling it that way, I don't know if he really thinks of it as A, but I'm going to go there. An A major triad is this. If you raise sharp the root, you get an A sharp diminished scale, A sharp diminished triad. Right? That's an old trick you do in dominant chords. You can sharp the root to get a diminished substitution. And then, especially if you have a dominant, if the A were major, then a major 7th, not a major, a dominant 7th, which has a minor 7th, and then sharp the root, voila, you have a diminished 7th arpeggio, which can then be substituted for your original dominant 7th you started on the A. So the moral of the story, A sharp diminished 7th can be substituted for A dominant 7th. Raise the root. Well, then there's one step after that. You can take that diminished 7th and make a diminished scale on that. And there's 2 types of diminished scale. There's half step, whole step, and whole step, half step. Jeff uses half step, whole step here. So from starting with the A major or A dominant 7th, A sharp diminished 7th. Now A sharp, which is also E because they're both in the scale. A sharp or E half step, whole step diminished. So I started with this. Let's say I make it A sharp half step, whole step diminished. I have E. That's the same notes, just in a different position of E half step, whole step diminished. This is the scale I said he used at the end of the lick. So that last part is based on all that theory I just mentioned. He's taking an A, but then sharpening the root, making a diminished out of that, diminished 7th, taking that as a half step, whole step diminished scale, whether you call it E or A sharp doesn't matter. It's still the same notes. That winds up the lick. Ugh, it's a lot. Rhythmically, there's other things going on. I can get into that, but I'll just get people saying it's in 9/8 time because my tablature said so. Well, it's not. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Let's do it for the hater people to try to defunk me on this point. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't sound like 9/8 anywhere in there, does it, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, here, try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So no 9/8 in any of that. It's basically 5/4 except the two bars of 4/4 that really holds the A. And Jeff doesn't actually play an A power chord because he's playing bass. He just plays the A note. But for guitar, it sounds good to play a power chord. One, two, three, four. Anyway, that was a lesson. I think it qualifies. I did some negative harmony slash musical palindromes. I did some pitch axis. I did some tuning tips, and I did analysis of Jeff Berlin's bass parts in Beelzebub. Hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. Those guys people in rock and roll.